What's going on, everybody? I'm your host, Ben Ballion, back with another episode of the Sports Pod. And today, I'm going to give you a reality check on the Knicks season because we're 3 games post All-Star break, and I have to say, the results are a little bit alarming. I'll talk about Tom Thibodeau's job security. I'll talk about Josh Hart's injury. And I'll also talk about Mitchell Robinson's injury and when I expect to see him back on the court. I'll get into all of it on the other side of the intro. Hit it.
DiVincenzo at 3. Bang! Bang! Got the wall. He jumps. It's gone. He did it. He did it. Pete Alonso.
All right, getting into the episode. And let me start with Tom Thibodeau and what I think his job security is like right now. Because yes, this Knicks team is 37-20, but they have to be the most disappointing 37-20 I have ever seen. I mean, they're 0-7 against the top 3 teams in the league, which are the Celtics, Cavs, and Thunder. That's an obvious stat. But I was looking at it the other day. I think it was about 78% of their wins have come from teams that are less than 500. And I get the argument that you can only play who's in front of you. You just got to beat teams that you're supposed to beat. That's what good teams do. I get that. But good teams also beat other good teams. The Knicks are not elite. I made an episode maybe a couple weeks or a month or 2 back that was titled, "The Knicks are not elite, ... yet." And I want to update you on that. I don't think the Knicks will be elite this year. I mean, they only play the Cavs 2 more times. I think they play the Celtics once, but both Cavs games are in April, and the Celtics, that's pretty far down the road as well. So, and once you get to April, those results, I kind of take it with a grain of salt because at that point, everyone's gearing up for their postseason runs. Nobody's really exerting all their force except for seeding purposes, which goes without saying. So players are playing, but the results aren't they're not impactful, and I don't think people hang their hats on it as much. But right now where the Knicks are, they're 3rd in the East. They're right up there. They had 2 All-Star starters. I get it. But there's something missing about this team. There's something that doesn't seem right. Like last year, it was night in and night out. It didn't matter if they were playing the Pistons, or they were playing the Celtics, or they were playing the Thunder. They were playing as hard as they possibly could. They were putting everything they had on the court. They were leaving it all out there. And their defense was tremendous. I think I give a lot of the credit to Tom Thibodeau. I mean, he's proven that he's one of the best coaches in the National Basketball Association for the past 20 years. I mean, you saw when he was the head coach of the Bulls, they were always in the playoffs. When he had D Rose, they were always in the playoffs. He went to Minnesota. They drafted well. They drafted Jimmy Butler and Karl Anthony Towns. They were pretty good over there. They had Mike Conley over there. He's always coached really good NBA teams. What befuddles me is how the Knicks went from a top defensive team last year to adding Mikal Bridges to having a full season with OG Anunoby to seeing Josh Hart in the starting lineup, and their defense is just falling off a cliff. I mean, I don't have any metrics or stats to give to you right now, but it's obvious just watching Knicks games that their defense isn't as good. Like, they don't pass the eye test whatsoever this season. And it's something that worries me. Because, the Knicks, it was always, they're going to play as hard as they can. And then once they get to the playoffs, they'll be fully ready. But the other teams kind of take the regular season off a little bit. And then once it gets to playoff time, they ramp it up. The Knicks never believed in that mantra. They never believed in that. That's not how they ran their organization. This year, you could make a case that that's how they're running their organization. But at the end of the day, it doesn't seem right. I mean, Tom Thibodeau ran Karl Anthony Towns out there down 18 points with 4 minutes to go after he already left the game in the 4th quarter with a knee injury. I just can't get behind it. I can't. It makes no sense to me. Josh Hart's been dealing with a knee injury. OG Anunoby was dealing with the foot injury. This is only his second game back. Karl Anthony Towns was writhing in pain on the bench. He had to go back to the locker room to get it checked out. And you left him in the game down 18 with 4.5 minutes to play? Something's not adding up. It's not. So I'm in the Tom Thibodeau camp right now. I think the Knicks should keep him as the head coach. I mean, I just can't see firing a head coach while you're seated third in the Eastern Conference. But if it keeps going this way and the Knicks keep losing to top opponents, I mean, after this season, I think they're going to have to make a difficult decision. So I was listening to Lori Rubinson on WFA, and she does a great job. She made a parallel between Tom Thibodeau and Buck Showalter, where Buck Showalter in his managerial career, he set a lot of teams up. He set the Yankees up for their World Series. He set the Diamondbacks franchise up. They eventually won a World Series. He set the Mets up last year. 2 years ago, he got fired, and Carlos Mendoza took over. The first season, they went to the NLCS with a lot of promise heading into this season. Is Tom Thibodeau the same way? The Bulls, the argument I'll make against that is that the Bulls were worse once Tom Thibodeau left. But the argument I'll make that concurs with it is that Tom Thibodeau is an old-style, hard-nosed defensive coach, and that's not going to change. He's not going to change the way he coaches basketball because it's out of style, it's outdated. I think that's set in stone. I don't think anything will be changing that. But what has to change is his style of coaching. He can't be coaching so defensively and such a hard-nosed physical game because it doesn't work. Like this Celtics with Joe Mazzulla, who's a great coach, who's a student of the game, who he's kind of a robot and a weirdo, but he is a great basketball coach, and he's running a really good, a really powerful, and a juggernaut franchise right now in the Boston Celtics. Tom Thibodeau has to adapt. He has to make adjustments. And I'm not saying he's unprepared, and I'm not saying he hasn't worked hard to get his guys ready to play day in and day out. But what I will say, he's got to stop playing guys so many minutes. And I know they don't really practice. It's more shoot-arounds and walkthroughs and things of that nature. But when you're running those guys 40 minutes a night, 42 minutes a night in some cases, it doesn't matter how little of practicing you are. They're exerting so much force that is just not natural. And these guys, these athletes are freaks. They're freaks in nature. They're in their builds that aren't really supposed to be builds. Like, you're telling me Karl Anthony Towns is supposed to be 7 foot with the ability to jump, and he's got to go out and bang bodies with guys down low every night. I just don't think that's how the human body's supposed to be made. And you're telling me guys like Wemby, who's done for this season with deep bone thrombosis, which ended Chris Bosh's career. It's essentially blood clots, I believe. Don't quote me on that. I'm not a doctor. But blood clots ended Chris Bosh's career. I'm really hoping that Wemby's going to be all right next year because he is so much fun to watch. He's like the perfect example of what I'm saying. He's a freak of nature. He's 7'4", 7'5". He's able to run up and down the court. He's able to shoot threes. That's not supposed to be possible. And if you're running guys out there for 40 minutes a night, and I'm not saying Wemby's getting ran out there for so long, it's just not going to work. I mean, we've seen it throughout Tibbs' whole career. He's notorious for doing this. And you know what the common theme is between Buck Showalter's career and what Tom Thibodeau's career? They've never won a championship. Neither of them has won a championship in their managerial or coaching career. And I'm starting to believe that Tom Thibodeau is one of these guys. He's going to set it up on a silver platter for whoever the Knicks' next head coach is. I mean, they lost J.B. Bryant over the offseason to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and that's the problem. I don't know who the next head coach is. I don't think there's anybody really on the horizon, a coach that's been talked about that didn't get a job this cycle but will next cycle. I don't know if there's one of those guys. But if there is, I guess the Knicks could sign him, but there's nobody that I really see is ready to take over this team, and especially mid-season. I would wait till the end of the season, see how this plays out, see what you can get out of this core with Tom Thibodeau. The thing I'm most confused about is the defense and how it just hasn't been as good as it has been as it was in the past. When you improve your players and when your coach is one of the best defensive coaches in the league. I get that you added Karl Anthony Towns, who is known to not be a great defender. The whole point of having Josh, OG, and Mikal in the starting lineup is to mask the lack of defense that JB and Cat give you, and then you could get by with it because you have guys that can play defense like Precious, like Deuce, like Campaign, coming off the bench. So that's really your roster construction, where it's like, we have two guys that I know can go get me 25, 30, 40 points a night when I need it. We're going to build the rest of the roster around that to play defense and then just run those guys essentially the entire game and make them score all our points. That's not going to work. You need a well-rounded team. I mean, on an ideal championship team, Campaign's a 7, 8th guy coming off the bench. He's not a 6 man. I mean, more 8, 9. I could see Precious Achua being a 7. I think in your ideal world, yeah, Deuce is a 6 as your 6 man. Precious 7. Campaign, insert player 8, Campaign 9, Landry Shamet 10 if you want to expand the rotation. But I mean, today, Landry Shamet played better than Mikal Bridges. And that's what I want to hit on next. We're like 57 games into this season. We are in February, mid to late February. I mean, there's 5 days left in this month. I'm recording on February 23rd. I expected the Knicks' chemistry to be down by this point. I expected them to be firing on all cylinders, for JB to be having one of those runs like he did last year where he was unstoppable in this part of the year. We were scoring 30, 40 a night at will. It hasn't happened this year. And I knew he wasn't going to score as much with the addition of Mikal Bridges and with the addition of Karl Anthony Towns, 2 more bona fide scorers. Yeah, Julius Randle is a top scorer in the league, but Karl Anthony Towns is better. And if you factor in the third option, who was OG Anunoby / RJ Barrett last year, I think Mikal Bridges, on paper, blows them out of the water. The problem is, Mikal hasn't been good. I mean, I get he had that clutch block on Vucevic a couple nights back in the first game back from the All-Star break to send the game to overtime, but like outside of a block against the Nets, a block against the Bulls, the scoring a bunch of points on Christmas Day, like Mikal Bridges hasn't had as big of an impact on this team as I think Knicks fans expected, as I think the organization expected, and as I think the team needed. Because Mikal Bridges, when he's playing at his best, he adds the element of defense. He can score. He can set players up. He can do so much stuff. He's like the ultimate 3-and-D player with an expanded offensive bag. That's how good Mikal Bridges is and can be. The problem is he hasn't been that good this year, and I can't pin that on Tibbs. But what I can pin on Tibbs is Landry Shamet was playing better than Mikal Bridges today. Adjust. Put Shamet in. Go away from your rotations. You're too married to your sets. I need this guy to play 35 minutes. I need this guy to play 38 minutes. I need this guy to score me 25 points, or we're going to lose. Newsflash, Mikal Bridges isn't doing anything what you need this year. So why not take a chance on a young guy or a guy coming off the bench? Paco Daddier, Landry Shamet, Ariel Huck-Porty, Tyler Kolek. You have guys that are chomping at the bit for a real opportunity to play more than 6 minutes a game and playing garbage time. Why not try it out when you're down 18 in the fourth quarter, getting shellacked by the Celtics for the 3rd time this year? Unacceptable from Tom Thibodeau. And it's making me trend towards the camp of move on from Tom Thibodeau. Maybe he isn't the answer to winning a championship. And honestly, maybe Jalen Brunson isn't the answer to winning a championship. He'll bring you a lot of fun in the regular season. He'll win you a playoff series or two. But the fact of the matter is, Jalen Brunson hasn't gotten out of the second round. I don't care how injured his team was last year. I don't care. I know I don't expect him to win that series, but I mean, that game 7, they pretty much got blown out. When they played Miami, I get IQ was injured, but other than that, they were fine. They were fresh. They were ready to go. And I guess Julius was injured in that run, so you can make a case there, but no. You got to get out of the second round. You let Gabe Vincent and Caleb Martin end your season. Until Jalen Brunson gets out of the second round and makes an Eastern Conference final. Is he really the answer? Is Karl Anthony Towns the answer? How far has he gone? I don't know if he's gotten to a Western Conference final, but I know we lost in 7 games in the second round as well last year. So there's little to no championship experience. I guess you have OG as a rookie, and he was injured in the finals in 2019 when the Raptors beat the Warriors. But other than that, I'm trying to think. I don't think there was anybody else that's been to a finals on this team, and maybe a Landry Shamet has with somebody. Maybe I don't think Campaign has, and then none of the starters besides OG, like I mentioned, have. All right, let me get to some of the Mitchell Robinson stuff. And flat out, I'll believe that he's coming back when I see him on the court. I know he's been cleared for 5-on-5. I know he's been practicing. But Mitchell Robinson, his injury history with how much he gets reported on that he's almost back, and that it takes so much time for him to get back, so much longer than people are expecting, I don't believe it. I'll believe that Mitchell Robinson is coming back when I see him coming back in game. And maybe it's this week against the Sixers or Memphis. I would rather it be Memphis just so you don't have to play him against Joel Embiid his first game back, and because we know how that worked out last time. We don't need to put him back on the IL for another 8-9 months. I'm good with that. Joel Embiid, you can kick rocks. Your knees, get your surgeries. Just do it. Miss the rest of the season. You're second, third last team in the Eastern Conference? Just get your surgeries already. You don't need to play against the Knicks. You're gonna lose anyway. Just take the game off. Why not? Take your 53rd game of the season off. Don't worry about it. The Sixers will lose anyway. But with Mitchell Robinson, I'm curious to see what element of defense he brings, because there's been so many people talking about, oh, he's going to bring the rebounding we need. Oh, he's going to need the interior defense we need. And while, yes, I agree with they need some help down low, is Mitchell Robinson going to be enough? Is he going to get you past the Celtics? The thing I had with Karl Anthony Towns, it made sure that almost everybody on the Knicks roster could shoot the three. I mean, the Knicks are 7-0, 8-0 when Precious Achiuwa makes a three in a game. And everybody else on the team can sling it. They can shoot the ball. I mean, OG scored, 38 against Denver. He's lethal from the corner. Mikal Bridges is supposed to be lethal from the corner. Josh Hart at the end of the shot clock. When he gets his shot fluid and goes right off on a catch and shoot, his shot's one of the best in the game. Not best in the game, but he's got a really smooth jumper that is a very underrated aspect of his game. And then, Jalen and Kat can obviously, they're superstars. But Mitchell Robinson, he can't shoot the three. Everybody on the Celtics roster can. Al Horford can. Kristaps Porzingis can. Is Xavier Tillman still there? He can. They can shoot for days. They can shoot lights out on any given night. And I think the only way the Knicks get past the Celtics, and if I had to give you a prediction right now, I would say the Knicks don't get past the Celtics in the playoffs if the Celtics have a cold week from 3. That's the only way I think anybody except the Thunder is getting past the Celtics. I think the Knicks can beat the Cavs. I don't think they could beat the Celtics or the Thunder. I think just come playoff time, the Cavs aren't going to be able to do it without shooting big men. Because Evan Mobley and Jared Allen can't shoot. I've gotten into this multiple times. I'm not going to get back into it. But staying on the topic of Mitchell Robinson, the defense is going to take a step up, no doubt about it. Is it going to be a big enough step up where we can start considering the Knicks as a championship threat, as a team that can go all the way, as a team that can beat the Celtics? I don't think so. And I mean, getting to Josh Hart's injury now, that's where I'll probably wrap up the episode. him coming out of the All-Star break and missing 2 straight games worries me. When he was ruled out for the Bulls game, I was like, okay, maybe he just gets an extra 2 nights off so Tibbs can really run him 45, 46 minutes against the Cavs and Celtics, which are bigger games. Like, the Knicks have got the Bulls under control, except they don't anytime they play them. It doesn't matter who's playing. We should have the Bulls game under control, and then we're gonna run you against the 2 top teams in the Eastern Conference to really see where we're at. But when he missed the Cavs game, that's where I got a whole lot more worried. I know he played against the Celtics, but he did look a little bit hobbled at times. Cat was definitely hobbled coming out of the locker room. So here we go again, man. Injuries. Injuries are already plaguing the team. I mean, it's 3 out of the 5 start. Well, I guess maybe Mitch starts, maybe he doesn't. No. 3 or 4 out of 5 starters, depending on the night. If you want to start Josh, Mitch, OG, and Cat with Jalen, you give Mikal the night off from the starting lineup, which I doubt happens. So most nights it will be 3 out of 5 will be injured if this stays this way, because I don't think OG's ever going to be fully healthy again. I don't think Karl Anthony Towns will reach full health again. I mean, we already know he won't because he has his hand injury that he's going to have to get surgery on this summer. We know OG is always playing injured. We'll see what happens with that. We know Josh Hart has, I don't know what his knee, some kind of, it starts with a P. You can look it up. It's hard to pronounce. But we'll see. That might be a nagging injury all the way. So injuries might be the problem again. And it's been a common theme in this episode. But is this something you can move on from Tom Thibodeau for? Who's the next guy up? It was supposed to be J.B. Bryant, but it isn't anymore. All right, that's going to do it for the episode. If you enjoyed, please subscribe, comment, like, share it with a friend, and keep tuning in. We're getting down the stretch here in the NBA season, post All-Star break, post trade deadline. This is where things start to get important. Baseball's ramping up. Spring training games have started. The Mets are 1-1. NFL draft, combine and stuff. So we got a lot of content on the way. Got a big episode dropping for you tomorrow. Stay tuned for that. Also, check out all the links in the description for more content. Doing some more content over on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube Shorts. So make sure you go check out that. All right. And most importantly, make sure you keep it locked with the Sports Pod.